born and raised in New York City in Harlem. I grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, going to parks, spent a lot of time in parks, learned how to play basketball, baseball, competitive tennis at our city parks. But my identity of the national parks and urban areas was like so low. And I came from an educated family. I mean, both my parents were academics. We would go, Hamilton Grange was just a few blocks from our house. Well, we never equated that with being a national park. Grant's Tomb, or Grant's National Memorial as it's official, we call it Grant's Tomb. We would go there, I would climb trees or go to concerts, jazz concerts, but never equated that with national parks. Same thing with Statue of Liberty. So, coming into the National Park Service was a way for me actually to understand what the National Park Service did. Even though I was a user, I was just a non-aware user, which I think a lot of urban people are. People that live in urban cities benefit from a lot of the programs that the National Park Service is involved in, but aren't aware that they're tied to national parks, which I think means that there's a big disconnect, especially in communities of color, African American communities, Latino, etc.
I first became interested in researching and working for the Park Service when I was an undergrad. I was at Colorado State University and I was taking a wilderness management course, and the professor asked if it was okay that 99% of visitors to wilderness were white people, middle-aged, and wealthy. And everyone in my class, it was a small class, about 12 people, I was the only person of color, everyone sat there in silence. It was very awkward and uncomfortable. And I finally raised my hand and said, no, that's not okay. And that started to pique my interest. So I spent the next few years in my master's and my PhD researching diversity issues, looking at whether discrimination caused people to be underrepresented in national parks, what types of programming was offered that would engage communities of color in national parks. And so that, to me, really started my learning journey. Very personal, wanting to figure out, why am I the only one in my class that's a person of color and seems to really care about this issue? And then transferring that to a mission of how do we engage more people into the Park Service, since it has tremendous opportunities for education and for employment, making sure that we're reaching those opportunities out to all Americans.
When we talk about parks in this organization, we talk about it as a system that's already coherent. But what I found through my work with the Urban Agenda is that we lacked a lot of knowledge and understanding of those programs, partnerships that go along with those parks. And pretty soon, over the 100 years, as we've been talking, we've dropped off the programs and the partnerships piece. So the Urban Agenda, to me, is bringing back those two other P's to the equation and finally being more coherent and better understanding the full suite of skill sets that the National Park Service offers, the tremendous talents and assets and voices that have probably not been covered or brought to bear in some of the conversations that we have here as a Park Service partner around making sure that this system lasts in perpetuity and is entrusted to the people, to all Americans. The agenda, I think, for me, is not just a document. It's not anything I've seen come out of the Park Service. It's actually really a platform or a framework for change. And I think that it's giving us some ideas or some containers for us to really spark conversations that we haven't had in the past 100 years.
To me, urban parks represent more than just a green place to be. It represents a place where communities evolve from. I think there is a connection that communities have to green space that ultimately lead to an elevation of their environmental health and also their individual well-being. I think one person only needs to go and look and see what it feels like after a stressful day to go take a walk outside. And I think all of us connect to this idea that somehow it makes me feel better.
Bringing back the idea that parks are not just the Yellowstones. They don't have to begin with a Y. They don't have to be actually out west. That there's a park, literally where I sit right now in Washington, D.C., there is a park 2 blocks up the street. And how do we use that as a great opportunity to inspire people to be part of a movement of parks? And I think the important piece here, particularly for us here who are worried about the future of the national park system and wanting to elevate the American consciousness around the value of it, is that people need to see on their way home from work that parks matter and that they are a piece of just their daily commute. And when we keep on branding those Western parks, which are indeed beautiful, that doesn't feel real and tangible. What feels real and tangible to me is getting off the metro at the end of work and walking through DuPont Circle and realizing I'm not just shortcutting to the next street, but I'm actually stepping on a piece of history and an important tale of the American story.